You're reading this sentence right now. That much is certain. But who exactly is doing the reading? Not the words themselves, they just appear one after another, black marks on a lit screen. Not your eyes, which are only lenses, pieces of wet machinery doing what wet machinery does. So who? When you try to point to the reader, the pointer itself becomes another thing being read. The hand pointing is just another object in the field of vision. The thought, "I am reading," is just another sentence sliding past. So where is the actual reader? And has that reader ever, for even one moment, not been here? This isn't a trick question, though it may feel like one. It's not a riddle designed to make you feel confused or stupid. It's an invitation to notice something that's been happening your entire life, so constantly and completely that you've likely never turned to look at it directly. The same way you don't notice the darkness behind your own eyeballs or the silence beneath every sound. You spend most of your waking hours convinced you're a person moving through a world, a body walking from room to room, a mind making decisions, weighing options, trying to get somewhere better than here. You have a story about who you are, your history, your wounds, your wins, the things you've done and the things that were done to you. This story feels solid. It feels like the realest thing you know. But right now, in this moment, that story isn't here. It's not in these words. It's not in the light coming off the screen. The story is only here when you think it. And when you're not thinking it, where does it go? Does it stop being real? Or does something else remain? Something that was here before the story started and will be here after you've forgotten it. Let's say you're washing a dish. It's an ordinary evening. The water is warm. Your hands move in small circles, wiping soap across ceramic. The light over the sink buzzes slightly. You're not thinking about anything in particular. Your mind is quiet, or maybe occupied with some idle half-thought about tomorrow, something you need to buy, a conversation you had earlier that you're still turning over. But underneath all of that, there's a sense of being present, not doing presence, not working at it, just present. The dish, the water, the hum of the light, and the awareness of all three at once. Now notice, that awareness isn't inside the dish. It's not in the water or the light or the idle thought. It's not even inside your body, though your body appears within it. The awareness is the space in which the entire scene occurs. The dish and the thought and the sensation of wetness are all objects appearing inside a field that holds them all at once, without effort, without comment. And that field, call it awareness, call it presence, call it nothing at all. That field is looking. It's always looking. It's what you've been calling you your whole life, though you've been pointing at the wrong thing. You've been pointing at the body, the thoughts, the story. But those are the objects being seen. The seer is what you've never quite turned around to face. Here's what makes this strange. The seer can't see itself, not the way it sees the dish or the thought. When you try to look at the looker, what you find isn't another object. It's the looking itself. It's the openness in which every object appears. You can't make it into a thing because it's the no thing that allows things to exist. This sounds abstract, but it's not. It's the most immediate fact of your existence, closer than your own breath. You've never not been this. You've never been separate from it. Every experience you've ever had, every joy, every fear, every moment of confusion or clarity has appeared inside this open, aware space. And that space has never once been disturbed by what appeared in it. A storm can rage across a landscape, but does it touch the space in which the storm occurs? Can sadness stain the awareness that holds it? Can a thought scar the silence from which it arose? You might think, but I've been hurt. I carry wounds. I'm not some untouchable space. I'm a person, and people bleed. And that's true. The body does bleed. The nervous system does store pain. The story of your life includes chapters that broke you, and pretending otherwise would be cheap and cruel. But here's the paradox. All of that is true, and yet the awareness in which the pain appears is not the pain. The witness of the wound is not wounded. You can hold both at once, the reality of suffering and the strange, quiet fact that something in you has always been watching it from a place that remains still. This is not a way to bypass grief. It's not a spiritual trick to avoid feeling hard things. The awareness doesn't erase the content, it holds it. Everything still happens. The fear, the heartbreak, the rage, the long nights where you can't sleep and the world feels cruel and cold. But when you notice the noticing, even in the middle of that, something shifts. Not because the pain goes away, but because you realize the pain is not all of you. It's an object, vivid and real, appearing in a space that is larger. Let's try something. Right now, notice the sensation of your body against the chair or bed or floor. Feel the pressure points, the temperature, the slight discomfort you've been ignoring. Now notice that you're noticing. There's a sensation, and there's the awareness of the sensation. The sensation changes, pressure shifts, warmth fades, comfort turns to restlessness. But does the awareness change? Or does it simply remain, holding each new sensation without preference, without effort, the way a mirror reflects whatever passes in front of it? Now notice your thoughts. Maybe there's a thought about this paragraph, or about something you need to do later, or a low hum of anxiety that's been running in the background all day. Watch the thought, not to change it, not to fix it, just to see it. And as you watch, notice who is watching. The thought is the object. The watcher is not the thought. The watcher is the space in which the thought appears, lingers, and dissolves. And that space doesn't go away when the thought does. It's here now, just as it was here a moment ago, just as it will be here after you stop reading. This is what people mean when they speak of the witness, not a person inside you who stands apart, not a higher self or a soul or some metaphysical passenger. Just this, the simple fact of awareness, which is always here, always open, always holding everything without strain. You are not the thought. You are not the emotion. You are not the story. You are the open space in which all of those appear. And once you've seen that, even for a second, something inside you knows it can never be fully fooled again. But here's the complication. Knowing this doesn't make life easier. It doesn't turn you into someone who glides through suffering with a serene smile. It doesn't fix your relationships or quiet your anxiety or make you successful or loved or safe. The person still exists. The body still has needs. The story still unfolds. And in most moments, you'll forget this entirely. You'll be gripped by a fear, tangled in a thought, lost in a desire, and the awareness will seem to disappear. You'll feel small again, trapped again, like you're nothing but the content of your experience, drowning in it. But that's not what's happening. The awareness didn't disappear. It was there the whole time, holding the fear, the thought, the desire. You just got absorbed in the object and forgot the space. And the moment you remember, the moment you ask, who is noticing this? The space reappears. Not because you created it, because it was always here. You just turned your attention toward it. This is the part most people get wrong. They hear about the witness and they think it means detachment. They think it means not caring, not feeling, becoming some kind of distant observer floating above life. And some people do try to use it that way, as a strategy, a defense, a way to avoid the raw ache of being human. But that's a misunderstanding. The witness isn't cold, it's not separate. It's the most intimate thing there is. It's the part of you that loves so deeply it can hold your pain without flinching. It's the space in which your grief is allowed to be exactly as large as it is. It doesn't push anything away. It doesn't cling to anything. It just lets life be life, in all its beauty and violence and strangeness, and it remains unbroken through all of it. If that sounds impossible, consider this. You've already done it. You've already been the witness 1,000 times without knowing it. Every time you've sat with a friend in pain and said nothing, just held space for them, that was the witness. Every time you've watched a storm roll in and felt the relief of not needing to do anything about it, that was the witness. Every time you've let a difficult feeling move through you without collapsing into it or running from it, that was the witness. You already know how to do this. You just didn't know it had a name, or that it was the deepest thing you are. So what changes when you notice? What difference does it make to recognize the awareness that's always been here? Here's one way it shows up. You're in a conversation and someone says something that triggers you. The old pattern would be, the trigger fires, the story activates, and within seconds you're inside a narrative. They don't respect me. I always get treated this way. I need to defend myself. And from inside that story, you act. You lash out or shut down or say something you'll regret later. The story hijacks you. You become it. But if you've spent even a little time noticing the noticing, something else can happen. The trigger still fires, the story still begins, but somewhere in the first few seconds, there's a flicker of recognition. A tiny gap opens. You see the story as a story. You see the thought as a thought. And in that gap, you have a choice. Not because you're better or wiser or more evolved, just because you remembered. This thought is not me. This is an object appearing in awareness, and awareness doesn't have to act on every object that appears. This doesn't mean you become passive. It doesn't mean you stop protecting yourself or speaking up or setting boundaries. It means you respond instead of react. The difference is subtle, but it's everything. Reaction is unconscious. It's the story running itself, using your body as its vehicle. Response is conscious. It's you, the awareness, choosing how to meet the moment. And the strange thing is, when you respond from that place, the action that arises is often wiser, kinder, more precise than anything the reactive story could have produced. This is how it works in the small moments, but it scales. Over time, noticing the noticing begins to dissolve the grip the story has on you. Not because the story stops being told, it doesn't, but because you stop believing it's all of you. You start to see it as one thread in a much larger tapestry. The story says you're broken, but the awareness isn't broken. The story says you're not enough, but the awareness has no concept of enough or not enough. The story says you need to become someone else, but the awareness is already complete, already whole, already free. It's always been free. It's just that you mistook yourself for the story instead of the space in which the story appears. And here's the deepest part, the part that takes longest to land. The awareness that's reading this sentence is the same awareness that's looking out of every other pair of eyes. It's not yours. It was never yours. You don't own it the way you own your thoughts or your body. It's more like you're a particular expression of it, a localized aperture through which the same universal awareness looks out and says, I. But the I that looks out of you is the same I that looks out of the person sitting across from you on the train, and the dog sniffing the grass, and the tree standing silent in the yard. Different forms, same witness, same open, aware, empty space in which all experience occurs. This is where people get scared. They think this means they don't exist. They think it means individuality is an illusion, that nothing matters, that everyone is the same. But that's not it. The form is real. Your particular history, your particular personality, your particular constellation of wounds and gifts, all real. The body is real. The story is real. But they're not the whole truth. They're the content, and the content is held inside something larger. You are both the wave and the ocean, both the note and the silence, both the person and the awareness in which the person appears. And recognizing the awareness doesn't erase the person. It just lets the person breathe. Let's return to the dish for a moment. You're standing there, hands in warm water, mind drifting. Most of your life, you'd say, "I'm washing a dish." And that's fine, that's accurate. But if you stop and notice, really notice, you might say, there's a body and hands and a dish and the sensation of water and a thought about tomorrow, and all of it is appearing in this open field of awareness that I am. Not I have awareness, not I'm aware of the dish, but I am the awareness in which the dish, the body, the thought, and the I itself all appear. That's the shift. And once you've felt it, even once, you can't fully unknow it. This doesn't mean you walk around all day in some exalted state. Most of the time, you forget. You get pulled back into the story. You identify with the thought, the emotion, the role, the need. And that's fine. That's human. But every time you remember, every time you pause and ask, who is noticing? The field reappears. And each time it reappears, it's a little easier to find, like a path through the woods that becomes clearer the more you walk it. And here's what's strange. The more you rest in the awareness, the less you need it to be something special. At first, when you glimpse it, it feels like a revelation. You think, this is it. I've found the answer. I've arrived. And maybe for a few days or weeks, life feels lighter. You feel awake, connected, free. But then the intensity fades. The insight becomes familiar, and you start to wonder if you lost it or if it was ever real in the first place. But you didn't lose it. You just stopped making it into an event. The awareness isn't a peak experience. It's not a high. It's the ground. It's the baseline. It's what's here when nothing special is happening, when you're bored, when you're tired, when you're washing a dish or sitting in traffic or staring at a screen. It's so ordinary, so constant, that it becomes invisible again. But this time, the invisibility is different. It's not the invisibility of ignorance. It's the invisibility of intimacy. You don't notice your own hand until you try to pick something up. You don't notice awareness until you look for the one who's looking. And once you've looked, you realize it was always here. It never left. You just stopped needing to make it into something other than what it is. What this means for your actual life, the one with bills and arguments and bad news and heartbreak, is subtle. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't make you invincible. You still feel pain. You still get scared. You still lose people you love and face situations you can't control. But the relationship to all of it shifts. Before, you were inside the pain, drowning in it, convinced it was the only reality. Now, you're in the pain and you're also the space in which the pain appears. You're the sufferer and the witness of the suffering. And the witness, the awareness, doesn't suffer. It holds the suffering the way the sky holds a storm. The storm is real. The lightning is real. The thunder shakes the ground. But the sky isn't shaken. The sky just is. This isn't about becoming the sky and ignoring the storm. It's about realizing you've always been both. And when you know that, you can be in the storm without believing the storm is all there is. You can feel the grief without becoming the grief. You can hold the fear without being held by the fear. You can be broken and whole at the same time, because the breaking happens inside something that can't break. Some people ask, if I'm the awareness, why does it feel like I'm the person? Why does it feel like I'm this body, this name, this story, and not the open space? And the answer is, because the awareness is looking through the person. It's taken the shape of the person. It's playing the role so completely that it forgets it's playing. This isn't a mistake. It's not a fall from grace or a cosmic error. It's what awareness does. It becomes. It pours itself into form and says, I am this, so convincingly that it believes its own story. And then, at some point, it wakes up inside the form and realizes, I was never just the form. I was always the space in which the form appeared. This is why the question, who am I, doesn't have an answer you can say. Every answer you give, I'm a person, I'm a body, I'm a soul, I'm awareness itself, is just another object appearing in the space. The real answer isn't words. It's the silence before the words. It's the openness in which the question arises. It's the noticing of the question and the noticing of the one asking it, and the realization that the one asking is the answer. But let's be clear. This isn't a doctrine. It's not something to believe. You can't believe your way into this. You have to see it. And you see it by looking. Not once, not in a special moment, but again and again, in the middle of ordinary life, asking, who is noticing? And each time you ask, the answer is the same. Not a thought, not a concept, just the open, aware, empty presence that's always been here, holding everything, disturbed by nothing, free in a way that doesn't depend on circumstances. This is the whole secret, not because there's nothing else to know, but because everything else is decoration. Every spiritual teaching, every practice, every tradition that's ever pointed toward liberation, this is what they're pointing at. They use different words, different images, different methods, but they all lead back to this. Notice the one who is noticing. Stop looking at the objects. Turn around and look at the looking itself. And when you do, you'll find you're not a small, separate, fragile thing moving through a hostile world. You're the world. You're the space in which the world appears. You're the awareness that was here before you were born and will be here after you die. You're the silence beneath every sound, the stillness beneath every movement, the openness in which every story unfolds. And here's the final turn, the one that completes the circle. This awareness, this open presence, isn't some distant transcendent thing. It's not high or holy or far away. It's right here. It's reading these words. It's feeling the pressure of your body against the chair. It's aware of the thought that just arose and the thought that's about to arise. It's so close you can't see it, the way you can't see your own face without a mirror. But unlike your face, this doesn't need a mirror. It just needs a moment of honest looking. A pause, a question. Who is noticing? And once you've asked, even once, the game is over. Not because you've won or achieved something, but because you've seen through the only illusion that ever mattered, the belief that you were something other than this. You spent your whole life thinking you were the character in the story when you were always the page on which the story was written. You thought you were the wave, when you were always the ocean. You thought you were the thought, when you were always the silence in which the thought appeared and dissolved. This doesn't make life easier, but it makes it lighter. The story still has weight, but you're no longer crushed by it. The pain still lands, but it doesn't define you. The fear still arises, but it doesn't trap you. Because now you know, every experience, no matter how intense, is just weather, and you are the sky. You are still here, still breathing, still reading these words. And beneath all of it, the awareness that has never left, the awareness that is you and is not you, the awareness that was here before your name, before your story, before the first thought you ever believed. And it will be here after all of that dissolves, not waiting, not watching, just here, open, silent, whole. So the invitation isn't to become this. You already are this. The invitation is just to notice, to stop even for 1 second and ask, who is noticing? And to let the question land not in your head, but in the living silence that holds your head, your heart, your entire life. That silence has always been listening. It's been waiting, not because it needs you to find it, but because it loves you enough to let you forget and to still be here when you remember. That's the secret. Not hidden, not far. Just here. Always here. Notice the one who is noticing. That is the whole secret. And now, if you've stayed with this until the end, I want to ask something of you. Not as a teacher to a student, but as one witness to another. Go to the comments and write this sentence in your own words. I am the awareness in which my life appears. Write it as a lived truth, not a concept. Let me know this reached you. Let me know you felt it. And if this opened something quiet in you, if it made you stop and look inward even once, then stay a little longer. One of the videos on your screen now will take you deeper. Choose one. Keep looking. The awareness is patient. It has all the time in the world, because it is the space in which time itself unfolds. And it's been waiting for you, not because you were lost, but because it knew you'd eventually turn around and see what's always been looking back.